Alright, boys, welcome back to another Maybe Lewis MMA UFC prediction video. So we got UFC Fight Night Emmett vs. Vallejos. It's a pretty good card, not gonna lie. Some pretty good names, pretty solid fights. Not terrible, you know. This card's pretty good. Looking forward to it. But let's get straight into it. We got the first fight of the night, Piera Rodriguez versus Sam Hughes. I'm pretty sure that this is a rematch. Let me just make sure really quick. So, Piera Rodriguez, last fight, she beat Katlyn Sousa. Pretty good one. Yeah, she beat Sam Hughes in 2022. And Rodriguez is on a 2-fight win streak. And then Sam Hughes, I don't know. I think she's pretty decent. She on a 3-fight win streak. But 2 of them were by split, but she submitted Shanna Bainin. Don't know much about these girls, boys. Not gonna lie. I know Sam Hughes, I think, is supposed to be some type of prospect. But Piera Rodriguez beat her the first time. They're running it back. Why isn't she gonna beat her again? I mean, yeah. I'll just go Piera Rodriguez by decision. Now, next up, we got Elijah Smith versus Suyoung. So, Elijah Smith, pretty decent prospect. That bantamweight, he's 9-1. I'm pretty sure he's 3-0 in the UFC. When he just got that last knockout, was a slam knockout. He's 2-0, but he got that crazy slam knockout, that Rampage Jackson type of knockout. Whereas Suyoung, his last fight, he beat Xiao Long. He's on a 3-fight win streak, so he's pretty good. I think Elijah Smith is better. You know, he's a better grappler. I'd say he's a better striker as well. He has 3 inches in reach, 6 in height, Elijah Smith. So, yeah. Young Yu's a good striker. I think Elijah Smith is better all around. He's a good bantamweight prospect. So I got Elijah Smith by decision as well, boys. Next fight. We got Mesquita versus Rendon. So Mesquita, I think her last fight was her debut. She's 6-0 in general. She submitted Alex Silva. She has 4 wins by submission and she's 6-0. So her jiu-jitsu's pretty legit, boys. And Rendon, she went to split decision with that one prospect Pereira. But honestly, in this one, I think Mesquita's grappling is legit. It's going to be a problem for a lot of these women. So, based on that, I think Mesquita's going to be able to take her down and submit her in round 1. She's my first lock of the night, boys. Mesquita, round 1 sub. I just don't think Rendon's going to be able to compete with her grappling. Next up, boys, we got Luan Lacerda versus Hecher Sosa. So I think, this is Sosa's debut. I'm pretty sure he was on the Contender Series. Let's check it out real quick. So he's 14-1. He's from Spain. And he had a unanimous decision on the Contender Series. But 6 of his wins are by knockout, 3 by submission, 5 by decision. And then Luan Lacerda, who was his last fight? Luan Lacerda's last fight versus Oliveira, and then he lost to Blackshear and Stamen. So Lacerda's pretty mid. He usually just banks on he has 11 wins by submissions, and he has 13 wins. So he just banks on that submission, trying to get the fight down. I think Hecher Sosa will be able to keep the fight standing. Lacerda won't be able to take his striking. He can't match it at all. Sosa's pretty aggressive, pretty good striker. So I got Hecher Sosa by round 1 knockout to boys. Lacerda's not gonna be able to get him down. Now next up we got Bolaji Oki versus Manoel Sousa. This is Manoel Sousa's debut as well. I think he was on the Contender Series. He's 13-1 from Brazil. 8 wins by knockout. Yeah, he got a round 3 finish on the Contender Series. But this guy beat Mauricio Ruffi on the regional scene, so he's not too bad. And Bolaji Oki lost to Mason Jones his last fight. He got KO'd. Wow. Bolaji Oki. This is really like Battle of the Brute Strikers, kind of. But I think Manoel Sousa will be able to find that shot first. I think he's the better striker. So I got him as well by a round 1 knockout in his debut, boys. Now next up, we got Chris Curtis versus Myktybek Orolbai. Chris Curtis, last time out, I think was versus Max Griffin. Didn't look great. Bro, what is this? Ooh. Yeah, Chris Curtis, Max Griffin, he had a split decision. That was all the way back in July. Before that, he got knocked out by Kopylov, lost the split to Allen. But he beat Barrio, but that was split as well. Chris Curtis is very mid, boys. Not going to lie. He's a decent striker, but I just think Orolbai, he's coming up from lightweight to the welterweight division. Obviously, Chris Curtis had just moved down. But I think Orolbai is going to be a pretty big problem at welterweight, not going to lie. He's a good striker, good grappler. I think he's better than Chris Curtis everywhere. Chris Curtis is durable and tough. I don't think Orolbai will finish him, but I do got Orolbai by decision. Lock. I think Orolbai's second lock of the card. Orolbai by decision. He'll just be able to control the fight wherever, honestly. I could see him finishing it, but Chris Curtis is pretty durable. Now, next up, Battle of the Unks, boys. We got Brad Tavares versus Eryk Anders. So, Brad Tavares last time out, he lost to Brisiek. I don't know who this guy is. He lost to someone by knockout. I don't know who that guy is. And then Eryk Anders last time out, he lost to Christian Leroy Duncan. I'm pretty sure it was round 1 knockout. This is 2 Unks, boys. I do think Eryk Anders is better, though, at this stage. He's pretty good. Pretty good striker. He has a lot of power. Whereas Tavares doesn't have that much power. And I also think his chin, low-key, could be gone. He has been getting finished a lot recently. I just think Eryk Anders is better at this stage in his career. I know they're kind of in the same space, but Eryk Anders has been losing to, the better fighters. Was he the one who had that? Yeah, he beat Chris Weidman. I thought he was the one who had that weird double eye poke against him, but he's beating the better fighters, so I'm going to take Eryk Anders here. I think he's going to finish Brad Tavares. I say round 2 or 3 by knockout. Now, for the last prelim of the night, boys. Pretty good heavyweight fight. Vitor Petrino versus Steven Asplund. So Petrino has been looking pretty good since coming up to heavyweight. He had a tough time at light heavyweight. He had lost to Anthony Smith and Jacoby, but he came up, submitted Austin Lane, and then knocked out Peterson. But that Peterson fight, I don't know. He looked like he was gassing in that fight. He was very slow. Obviously, Steven Asplund last fight was his debut. He beat Sharaf. He just drowned him. He has insane cardio for heavyweight. He put a pace on Sharaf that he couldn't take. He was just walking him down. He threw a lot of significant strikes in that one. I'm going to see if I could pull that up really quick on his stat sheet. But he does have 3 inches in height on Petrino as well and 1 inch in reach. So I could play 19.93 strikes landed per minute in that fight. But he does get hit a lot as well. He is obsessed. He does get cracked by the right overhand a lot, but I think this fight really depends on Petrino's grappling. I do think I think Petrino probably does have more power than Asplund. Asplund has more volume. If this fight, I can see if it goes later, Asplund could turn it up because Petrino does gas. I could see him turn it up and put a pace on Petrino and potentially finish him. But I just think if Petrino goes out there and he's smart, he'll take Asplund down and submit him. And I think he's going to do that. I got Petrino round 1 sub. I really like Asplund, but I think this might be... I know heavyweight, it's one shot and anything can happen, but I really do think this is too high of a jump in comp. I think Petrino is better everywhere. at this stage. Besides like cardio and stuff, but yeah, experience, grappling. I got Petrino, round 1 sub. So for the start of the main card, boys, we got Charles Johnson versus Bruno Silva. So obviously, Charles Johnson just lost to Alex Perez like last month, I think. Got knocked out, was getting rocked a lot, pretty bad. Whereas Bruno Silva, I think last time out he beat Park. Yeah, he beat Park, who's a pretty good prospect as well. Charles Johnson, obviously, pretty aggressive striker. Has a lot of power, locked out Loner Kavanaugh and Joshua Van. Whereas Bruno Silva is pretty chinny as well, but he does have a lot of power himself. He's good at grappling. So this really depends if Charles Johnson is affected as much, like from getting knocked out that long ago. I do think he's the better fighter than Bruno Silva. I think it really depends on if he's had enough time to recover from that knockout. I got Charles Johnson my decision, but I could see Bruno Silva winning this, not going to lie, just because Charles Johnson got knocked out really recently. But I still think Charles Johnson's the better fighter. His chin might be a little iffy. Bruno Silva might drop him maybe or something, but I believe in Charles Johnson to get this one done. 5 inches in height, 5 inches in reach. Think he could keep this fight at range and just pick Silva apart. And yeah, take the decision on this one. So next fight, boys, we got Marwan Rahiki versus Hardwick. So Rahiki's making his debut. He was on the Contender Series. I forgot who he fought, but that was a war. He got dropped like 3 times, got rocked. He's great at recovering. He came back in that one. I think he won by round 2 knockout. And Hardwick is one of the worst fighters I've potentially ever seen. His striking is horrible. He doesn't know how to defend leg kicks. And I think Rahiki's a better striker. Hardwick probably has the grappling. I don't know, but it's not going to get there. I think Rahiki is going to sleep him in round 1. Hardwick has no striking at all. It's terrible. Yeah, Rahiki, powerful, lankier. Just better all around. I think Hardwick is mid. Yeah, I don't see a way in which he wins this besides grappling maybe, but I got Rahiki winning this by knockout. Now next fight, boys, we got Andre Touchy-Feely, boys, versus Jose Miguel Delgado. So I think Touchy-Feely last time out beat Christian Rodriguez, but before that he lost to Melky. And then Delgado got robbed so bad in his last fight versus Nathaniel Wood. He won rounds 1 and 3 very clearly, beat the brakes off Nathaniel Wood, but they were I'm pretty sure that fight was in the UK or in Abu Dhabi or something. But yeah, that was a robbery if I ever seen one. Yeah, Delgado won that fight very clearly. I think he's great prospect at featherweight. I just think Feely's aging. He's getting up there in age, boys. He's getting slower. Where I think Jose Miguel Delgado could blitz him. Dan Ige knocked out Fili. I think Jose Miguel Delgado could do the same. He has a lot of power. I think he's going to be a faster striker. And he's just going to blitz Fili early. He's pretty aggressive. So I got him. Round 1 knockout. And yeah. Now, next up, boys, we got Ion Cutelaba versus Oumar Sy. So, Cutelaba, I think last time out, lost to Bukowskis. Let's check. Yeah, lost to Modestas Bukowskis. And then Oumar Sy, I think who did he beat his last fight? I don't really remember. He beat Brendan Ribeiro. So, Oumar Sy was looking pretty good for light heavyweight, and then he got, fraud checked by Alonzo Menefield. But I still think he could be a pretty good prospect at light heavyweight. Cutelaba, obviously, getting kind of old. I think, if I'm not mistaken, let's see how old Ion Cutelaba is. What? So Cutelaba. Oh, he's not even that. Oh, he's 32. Okay, so I'm tripping on that part. But how old is Oumar Sy? I think he's pretty young. He's 30. I think he's not that young. So I think Oumar Sy, he'll probably use grappling in this one. Cutelaba is a good striker. Oumar Sy's striking is kind of mid. He does have a lot of power. Cutelaba has power as well, but I can see Oumar Sy using his grappling in this one probably. I got Oumar Sy by decision. I think he'll just be able to take Cutelaba down and yeah, just use his grappling in this one to win this. But in the striking as well, I feel like he could probably crack Cutelaba's chin, not gonna lie, but I got him by decision. I think Cutelaba's pretty tough, you know. Bukowski's gonna finish him. I think Podolskis is pretty good, so got Oumar Sy by decision. Now, boys, for the co-main event of the evening, we got Amanda Lemos versus Jillian Robertson. Jillian Robertson's finally getting back in there, but Lemos last time out, obviously, she lost to Tatiana Suarez, beat Lucindo, lost to fucking Dandra Doba, but she beat Mackenzie Dern as well, the champ right now. So, but Robertson, obviously, long time off. She last time out beat Marina Rodriguez. She's on a pretty big win streak. Her last loss was Tabitha Ricci, but that was like 2023. So she's really coming into her own now, you know. She's a great grappler. I don't think Amanda Lemos does good versus grapplers. Like, look at her performance versus Tatiana Suarez and her performance versus Verna Jandiroba. So I think that Jillian Robertson is going to be able to control this one. In the grappling, I think she's going to submit Amanda Lemos probably around 2 or 3. Lemos' grappling defense is pretty weak compared to someone who has great grappling like Jillian Robertson. So I got Robertson by round 2 or round 3 submission, boys. Now, for the main event of the evening, boys, we got Josh Emmett versus Kevin Vallejos. So, obviously, Josh Emmett, he's on like a 2-fight losing streak, but he's lost to Lerone Murphy and Yusuf Zalal. Yusuf Zalal beat him in like a minute, and Lerone Murphy obviously beat him as well. Ran like laps around him, you know, was picking him apart. That's the way to beat Josh Emmett. You got to circle. But Kevin Vallejos is looking like a big problem at featherweight, boys. Not gonna lie, he's a really slick and clean striker. He has good pop. Just beat Giga Chikadze. Knocked him out. First man to finish him. Round 2, you know, that spinning back fist followed up with the elbows. He had knocked out Choi. He had that war with Silva. But I just think Josh Emmett is too slow in this age, at this stage in his career. He's been looking pretty bad his last few fights versus Murphy and Zalal. I know people try to say he has that, oh, well, watch out for that right hand. You know, he could always knock out Vallejos. When is the last time? I mean, he knocked out Bryce Mitchell. I think Bryce Mitchell beats him fucking 9 times out of 10. That one time was just he got caught. But I just think Josh Emmett's power is overrated, honestly, at this stage in his career. He has like 1 knockout in the last 5 years. He goes to decision mostly in his fights. And Vallejos, he's a clean, slick striker. You know, I think he could put on a performance like Ilia Topuria. Not as bad as Ilia Topuria did. I think he could just win like every round convincingly with his striking. He's a good counter striker. He looks to counter most of the times, but when he goes, he goes. You know what I mean? Yeah, I could see this playing out like Josh Emmett versus Ilia Topuria or Josh Emmett versus Lerone Murphy. I got Vallejos by decision. I think he's a lock. I think he's for sure beating Josh Emmett. It's just Josh Emmett's too slow. He just banks on that right hand. I think Vallejos cleaner, slicker striker. And yeah, I can see him just beating down Emmett over 5 rounds. I don't think he'll finish him. Josh Emmett's pretty tough. It'll be pretty surprising. Well, not surprising if he finishes him, but knocking out Josh Emmett's a big feat. I got Vallejos by decision. Yeah. So that's my picks for this card, boys. Let me know what you think down below. Let me know your predictions. Yeah, after this card, what's the next card? I think it's UFC London, Mavsar. Yeah, Mavsar versus Murphy. There's some rumors Mavsar might be pulling out. It might be Gene Silva stepping in, so we got to keep our eyes on that. But, boys, yeah. So, have a good one, boys. Hope y'all enjoy the card, and peace.